Michelle and I are really excited to present today. And just to kind of get us started, a little bit about us. Uh, I got started in real estate about 9 years ago. I was a baby-faced 23-year-old. I didn't know what the heck I was doing. It's not like I got out of high school or college and said, "Oh, I'm going to be a real estate agent." It just happened to turn out that way, which is probably the case for most of you. And through the last 9 years, I've had some fantastic mentors, and I've gone to a lot of conferences and a lot of education. And along with that, I've made plenty of mistakes as well. Michelle and I have built our firm in the last 5 years, and so we've had a very unique perspective into the failure rate of real estate agents and have a good, clear picture through our own experience as agents, also through the experience of coaching and training agents, of what we believe are the main causes and what we can do to prevent that burnout. Michelle has been in the business about 12 years. We've both had a very similar journey of production ourselves to leadership. Both of us still maintain some level of production. So we can relate to you, those of you who are still in production, agents, team leaders, broker owners. This stuff is hard, but it is something that we can overcome, and we can stay in the trenches and continue to produce. So who is this for? This is for agents. This is for broker owners. This is for team leaders. This is for ISAs. This is for anyone who wants to overcome the staggering statistic of 80 to 90% of new agents or new entries into the real estate space failing out within the first 5 years. I don't know about you, but I find that a staggering failure rate. And so today we want to reveal how agents can maintain some level of motivation and stay in production, and how leaders can spot early signs that an agent might be starting to flame out. Michelle, do you have anything to add to our intro?
I will just say that as a former educator, the statistics that Ford just gave, those are that it should not be that way. And so when he and I opened our firm, we generally would attract lots of new agents. Now we're getting probably 50-50. But even in the 50% of agents that we get that have been selling for a couple of years, many of them don't have the success they need to actually make this a career. And so we have just been committed to helping agents who genuinely want to make real estate their full-time career, their full-time income. We've tried to develop ways to make that happen for people. It can be a life-changing industry. And we just made the commitment to each other and to our agent clients, that we would help them achieve what they said they wanted to achieve.
So why do agents burn out like they do? That the failure to launch is what we call it. Uh, Number one, it is a lack of clear goals, and not just clear goals, but commitments. I think the uh, goals that agents often set, and I'm guilty of it as well, is this kind of dream number, this thing that we want to accomplish, but it's not something that we necessarily have aligned our commitments to. These are things that we may have to change who we are in a way. We may have to change the way we live our life to actually accomplish these things. Those are commitments. Those aren't just goals. And with that, there's a lack of accountability to those goals, both accountability from a leadership perspective. Those of us who are leading firms or leading teams, not holding agents accountable, but also personal accountability, extreme ownership in these goals that we have committed to. They are things that we maybe at the beginning of the year set our eyes on, and then we don't align our daily habits, we don't align our life to those goals that we've set. With that is inconsistent prospecting and follow-up. So these are daily habits. If we aren't prospecting, if we aren't following up or following through with our opportunities, we're going to see burnout. And that doesn't just apply to maybe the first few months of an agent. Where I typically start to see agents really struggling is about, 3 to 4 months in. They've been grinding really hard. Maybe they've found a little bit of success, but they just don't feel like they're getting the momentum that they should be. They are going to start pulling back. With that, there's also ineffective time management. I know me, when I got into real estate, I didn't know what a calendar was. I came from a 9 to 5 job. My boss told me to show up at one time, and I show up there, and then I work and do what they tell me to do until the clock strikes and I can go home. I didn't manage my own time. Somebody managed it for me. So, going into a business where you are a business owner, now you have to manage your own time. And that's a lot harder than a lot of us anticipate when we get into it. There's a lot of stuff pulling our time. All of a sudden, oh, well, you don't have a job, so you can be the one to take the family member to the doctor. Oh, well, you're the one who doesn't have a job now, so you can be the one that takes care of the kids, or you do this or you do that, because well, you don't have any commitments that are holding you back. So that's a common kind of complex that we see for folks that get into real estate, is maybe their family is not in full alignment with exactly what commitments they have made. And so it creates this environment where there's ineffective time management. Michelle, you want to go over?
Yep. So when we can identify the pitfalls, then we have to structure a place that we can help agents avoid those pitfalls, and so that we can give them some semblance of success. So we have set up an environment that we feel is structured, because if you look at those 3 pitfalls, a lot of them revolve around the root problem of a lack of structure. If you don't have clear goals, if you don't have accountability, if you have inconsistent prospecting and follow-up, if you have ineffective time management, a lot of that is because you lack structure. And just like Ford said, when you work for the man, you have structure, you have the structure that they have given you. And so one thing that we have to do is coach agents. We have to coach ourselves to have some structure in our environment. Maybe it's a designated workspace at home. Maybe it's getting into the office because you can't work effectively at home. And much of that structure not only is environment, but it's putting yourself in a position to be coached. Now, one thing that you have said this before, if you are a team leader, if you're a broker owner, you've even said it if you're an agent, if you're dealing with just other people in your world. We have to have a personal drive in this business. You have to want it for you. You can't want something for someone else more than they want it for themselves. So that if we structure the environment that we have here, we provide coaching, we are genuinely looking for people who have a personal drive. And from my perspective, that means we have to be people who are willing to have some self-evaluation. And that's important for your leadership within your world, whether you are a team, broker, owner. Your leadership needs to have consistent self-evaluation, and we have to have personal drive to model that for the people that we are coaching, training, bringing onto our teams. And if we're an individual agent, we have to have that as well, so that we can keep our momentum going. And then another success factor is leadership support and resources. And I saw this African proverb the other day, and I hope I don't slay it. but I thought it was really, really good. And the African proverb said, you can have the best cooking pot, but the best cooking pot will not produce food. Meaning, if you have tools, talent, and potential alone aren't enough, you've got to have action, effort, and ingredients. And so we believe that leadership support and resources are going to help the people that are have an aptitude for this industry, have a desire to do well. They have some quantifiable goals that they want to meet. Leadership support and resources can help us bring about some success factors for the people that really want that in this industry. I can't imagine anybody going through the classes, investing the money that they invest, taking the time from their lives if they didn't want success in the industry.
Yeah, I know for me as an agent, um, the I got an awesome email this morning actually from Dustin Runyon about ego. That was me. Like when I first got into real estate, for whatever reason, I don't know. It's not like I had a ton of experience. I allowed my ego to not submit to the experience and knowledge of the leadership and the brokers that I had. That's probably one of the things that slowed my growth the most is, not leaning into that leadership support and those resources as an agent, trying to reinvent the wheel and do things myself. That could have derailed me, honestly. So, how do we avoid the burnout and focus on the success factors of staying in a structured environment, keeping that personal drive, self-evaluating, and then leaning into the leadership environment that we put ourselves in. So we have to look for signs that we're getting off track. Are we less engaged in the meetings that we're in? Are we less engaged in our prospecting? Are we finding that, maybe we were really regimented in our time management and now we're starting to get more loose with it? We're saying yes to things that we shouldn't be saying yes to. Oh, my buddies just invited me to go out and play golf in the middle of my prospecting hour. It won't hurt this time for me to go and do that. And the next thing you know, you have abandoned your commitment to that prospecting time block. So we have to identify those signs of drift. What does that look like? That's practical self checks, reflection on our productivity, the numbers. Go in and look at your own report. Well, no matter what CRM you're using, as an agent, you have some sort of access to reporting. At least you should. If you don't, go ask your leadership. I bet they can show you. But what do your KPIs look like? How many calls are you making? Although that's probably one of the least important metrics to look at. But as a new agent, how many calls are you making? How many conversations are you having? How many connects in between there are you having? Is there a skill gap? Is the reason why we're feeling burned out is because we're making 700 phone calls in a week and we're only having 15 meaningful conversations? How many people were we not able to keep on the phone? Is that a skill gap with our dialogue? Of course you're going to burn out. Of course you're going to get frustrated because you're doing a bunch of work, but because of a skill gap, you're not able to make efficient use of that work. So maybe we need to dive into something there. Um, are we having the conversations? Are we keeping people on the phone? But maybe we're afraid to ask for the appointment. See that all the time with agents. Their numbers look amazing up into the point of conversations, but then they aren't setting appointments. They're afraid to ask. That's something that we have to get over, or again, we're going to run into that burnout. I met with an agent a couple of days ago, and she was saying, I'm doing all this work. all this prospecting is happening. I'm having the conversations, but then I'm just having a bunch of people that, are not converting. They're backing out on me, or their time frame is changing. They said they were ready to buy a house and now they're not, or they chose to use another agent. And we back up, and there's no appointment ask. We've been having numerous conversations with this lead for months, but we never set an appointment with them. We never took it to the next step. And that leads to an incredible amount of frustration because we feel like we are doing the work, but we're not getting the results. And it's important to be, process driven, so that you're going to have periods where you're going to have a dry spell. The best agents have times where they are putting in the work and they're not seeing the results, and so we have to just focus on, are you following the process? And if you are, great, and you'll get through that dry spell. But you do have to be results oriented, because if you are doing the work consistently and you're not seeing the results, there's probably a skill gap that needs to be addressed so that we're not burning ourselves out.
And Ford, I know one thing sometimes when I experience that myself, it's because I'm saying yes to people on my calendar that I should have said no to. I think sometimes we get busy with people who we have not properly qualified, and we will say yes to them. And then we're frustrated after that time when we do find out that maybe they weren't ready to buy yet. And it's because I didn't ask enough questions, but I was so eager as an agent to get someone on my calendar, get them in houses, showing them to in houses, that I was willing to spend time out and about doing things that I really didn't need to do. I should have spent it prospecting or asking better questions. And so sometimes burnout or failing to launch comes because we are working so hard, but we're actually working so hard on the wrong things.
Yeah, it's abandoning the actual proven process.
Yes.
We say it all the time. Real estate is really simple. It's not easy, but it is actually very simple. And when we depart from the process, we are going to see frustration build up. And that's where you, in your personal reflection, but also leaning into your leadership support, is important, because that's where that problem can be easily corrected. Where did we get off track here? You're clearly doing really well in certain areas, but we got off track and we're not seeing the results we should be. Let's get back on track. Let's start seeing the results. And let's talk about what the results really are real quick. Money, paychecks, right? Why do agents burn out? Why do 80 to 90% of agents burn out in the first 5 years? They got to pay their bills, and they're having a hard time paying their bills. But if they are following a proven process, that's no longer going to be the issue. We get them through the hump and into production. That's where businesses actually start to grow and take off. And you're starting to see people who are going to be less likely to burn out. The burnout is not just a new agent problem, but it is more commonly going to be a new agent problem, somebody in the first 5 years. So some simple recharge tactics with this, outside of solving the problem of where you got off base, where you took the wrong turn. Time blocking, recharge through time blocking. When you start to feel overly busy, tired, or distracted, not able to stay on task, you're going to feel less stressed by getting back to your time blocks. That may look like completely overhauling your time blocks. That may look like sitting down, breaking your time block, just destroy it, throw it away, ball it up and throw it away, and then start over. Life happens, life adjusts. I've got two kids. When They were, when I had one kid, my time blocks looked a whole lot different than when I had my second kid. Life happens and time blocks may not always stay static. So if you're starting to feel as though you're getting off track, one way to recharge is actually to take charge again of your time, because that's likely what the problem is you've lost control of your time. Not only do we do that, but we've got to have good energy. Right now, I'm standing up for this presentation. Michelle's not, she doesn't have the fancy tech that I do, but I cannot, when I am in a meeting or a training, sit down. I've got to have the energy and the excitement to do what I do. So we need to be celebrating our wins. We need to be showing up at the office for our prospecting time, ready to go. If you are coming in and you're dragging and you hate your life and you are like, I do not want to be here making these prospecting calls today, guess what? Your day is going to suck. But if you readjust and come in, take a day off. I mean, it's really better. Take a day off and come back the next day ready. Don't come in with a negative attitude. Don't come in discouraged. Don't come in beat down, and then let that control your day. If nothing else, leave that at the door when you walk in. Stand up for your prospecting time. Get in there, celebrate the small win where, hey, I actually got through a prospecting shift and I was able to get a few opportunities today. Maybe I didn't close a deal today, but I got some opportunities today. So realigning your energy, realigning your time are great recharge tactics when you start to feel yourself get off track. So we have to turn the potential into production. That's what this is all about. That's what today is all about. So we've talked about some of the pitfalls. We've talked about some of the really minor things that we can do that can maybe give us better energy, keep us going a little bit longer. But what are the things that we actually have to be committing to day in and day out to go from, hey, this is an agent that has great potential, which is every agent that I have ever interviewed. They come in and they're like, well, I'm really good with people and I love houses and I'm excited to get into real estate. Every agent comes in with a lot of excitement, a lot of potential. What do we have to do to get them making money so they're paying their bills? Focus on four main areas. So this is what you as an agent need to focus on to get into production or get back into production or to get more stable as an agent. Lead gen. How are we adding to our database? Does that activity work and are we doing it consistently? I am one that I hate on Facebook, but I use Facebook so much in my marketing. But this is what I mean when I hate on Facebook. And this may apply to you, but hear me out here. If you're posting on Facebook for your lead gen, is it working? Do you have metrics to back up that the time you are investing on that lead gen source is fruitful? I know when I was a new agent and I was posting all over my business Facebook page, the only people that liked my posts were my grandma, my mom, and my wife. I didn't generate one lead off of that. Oh, but Ford, it's branding. It's branding. Yeah, and branding is important, but numerous academic studies have shown that building a brand is a multi-year, multifaceted, complex process. So as a newer agent coming into the business, do you have time to wait multiple years to be in a multi-channel marketing environment to build a brand before you make your first check? Probably not. If you are in a position right now, maybe you're not a brand new agent. Maybe you are 3, 5, 7 years in, but you need a paycheck. The market's tough right now. I think we can all agree that the market's very volatile. I was praising our agents the other day because throughout all of it, I mean, some of them are on track to 2x, 4x, 6x their businesses this year. They've tuned out the noise of the market, but it's still a challenge out there. What can you do today to go make some money? Post on Facebook or make some phone calls in your database. So lead gen is important. Brand building is important, but if your source of lead generation is something that isn't working, cut it out. Go make some money first. Next, we've got prospecting. This can be looked at as a form of lead gen if you're working company leads and maybe you're calling through a pond or a database of your company and you're looking for warm opportunities. That can kind of be considered a form of lead gen. But where, or a form of lead gen. But wherever you're getting your leads, wherever you're generating them, they have to be qualified. They've got to be added to your personal database for a follow-up cadence. Prospecting is in general not follow-up and should be separate time blocks on your schedule. So we are making sure that we are adding new people to our database, lead gen. We're making sure that we're calling and qualifying them, prospecting. Then we're doing lead follow-up. These are things we're doing every single day, different time blocks on the schedule. This is a time block session for CRM management, for checking our tasks, checking our notifications, checking our inbox, checking lead activity, and our own personal accountability over our database. We have to be focused on conversations, appointments, and conversions. That's part of the prospecting, the lead follow-up, and the lead gen. That's a area in all three of those categories that we have to be tracking. We have to see what our ratios are. We have to see if there's a skill gap somewhere in those three areas. That leads to the fourth main area that we have to focus on, and that's skill building. So throughout lead gen, prospecting, and lead follow-up and tracking our KPIs in those areas, we have to look for the areas that we need ongoing training to make sure that we are making the most of the time that we're investing there. So 4 areas, agents, you can leave today with these 4 things, time blocked on your calendar: lead gen, prospecting, database management or lead follow-up, and skill building. Those are daily routines that should turn into a weekly review that you should be doing yourself as an agent. You should be reviewing your own business on a weekly basis. You should also be scheduling meetings with your leadership and leaning into that support network as well. When it comes to goals and the commitments that we're making, they need to be, you've probably heard this, SMART goals: specific, measurable, achievable, and relevant. They have to be time bound. I am going to go out and I'm going to time block those 4 areas that we just talked about. And I'm going to have specific goals related to those activities that are measurable. They have to be achievable. You're a brand new agent. Don't go out there and say, well, I'm going to have 50 conversations this week. You know, my database has 2 people in it, and somehow I'm going to figure out how to have 50 conversations this week. Not going to happen. Relevant, meaning that the goal needs to be relevant to a specific, life goal really that you have. There's agents that say, well, I want to make 6 figures, but you talk to them and they've been making $40,000 a year. If they doubled it and made $80,000 a year, they'd be doing really dang well. But they set this goal that was really arbitrary. So it wasn't relevant to them. And again, time bound. How quickly are we going to accomplish these things? The mistakes that we've made in the past and then we're going to kind of wrap it up and leave a few minutes for some Q&A. I learn from mistakes. I like to share some of the mistakes that we have made because I think it allows a different level of learning. It's really easy to say, hey, you need to do this. But it's a little bit more relevant, I think, to say, hey, this is something that really is a pitfall. Number one is focusing on knowledge-based training during onboarding, or even beyond, because this allows agents to productively procrastinate. We can get lost in learning about contracts and negotiation skills and marketing and this and that and the other, and we don't make a single phone call for months. And then we wonder why we're not getting paid. Focusing too heavily on knowledge-based training up front and not on action is a major pitfall that leaves agents broke and burned out. Neglecting personal development. When I got into real estate, I was fairly fit. By about 5 years in, I was fairly fat. So, I neglected my own physical health while I was building my business, and it led to plateaus, it led to more failures, it led to delayed growth. And so neglecting, your physical health, neglecting opportunities to learn and grow, like going to conferences and things like that, are one thing that agents are constantly guilty of. And it is probably one of the most important areas outside of the action you're taking in your business to make sure that you continue to grow. Some big takeaways that I have had throughout my career is how important the metrics are. Really tracking your success with your calls, with your conversations, and setting appointments. It's so easy to find a skill gap when you track those. As leaders, those of you who are leading a team or a firm, you have to be available and observant to catch some of these issues for your agents. As much as I preach personal accountability, as leaders, we also have to be available to spot some of these problems because you can see it and be willing to risk the relationship and have the hard conversations to help pull agents back into production before they flame out. So just to wrap up, you've got 4 time blocks as agents that you can go out today and put on your calendar. Some of you probably already have it and you're absolutely crushing it. Others of you do not have it, and you're wondering what's happening. Well, this will fix that. Put lead generation, prospecting, lead follow-up, and skill building on your time blocks every single day. Your business will change. It will take some weeks, but your business will change. Any questions that anybody wants to throw into the chat?
Ford, while they're coming up with questions, I will say one thing it's going to be helpful if you identify what's the one thing that you don't want to do. The thing that you know you need to do, but you're scared of it, you don't understand how to do it. You really need to identify that thing as well, because that might be the very thing that will keep your forward movement from having the speed that it needs to have. You might be doing the other things, but you've got to identify the one thing that you're avoiding. I know I've got one of our agents, I've talked to her several times, and we've finally gotten her to the point where she will get on the phone. All she wanted to do was send mailers and Facebook posts. She wanted to do the things that didn't involve actually talking to people. And so when she said the other day, guess what? I made 37 calls. That was a huge win for her because she had done some self-evaluation. She had identified my problem is I have apprehension about getting on the phone with people. And we said, just, you got to do it.
That's in line with the term that I don't know if I coined it, maybe somebody else did, but I feel like I did. I'll claim it. Productive procrastination.
Yes,
You
that
know,
she's very
we're doing
productive,
all the
but
other things that don't work to
mhm.
feel like we're busy, but we're not doing the things that we know work because we have some level of discomfort with it.
We will
Eric,
always gravitate to the things
thank
we enjoy
you.
doing.
Thank you for the question, Eric. So I'll go back over that because it is very, very important to have a different definition for lead generation and prospecting, as well as lead follow-up and why they're separate areas on your time block. So lead generation, if you, so a little bit of background on this. So we are a brokerage. We call ourselves more of a teamridge, meaning that, you know, we do have a lot of team-based support, team-based culture, team-based energy, but we also have agents within our firm that do not really participate in our company lead flow, in our company lead processes and programs, and they kind of do their own thing. And so part of what I teach is that you have to have time on your time block for lead generation. You know, if you're on a team, if you're with a brokerage that is providing you with leads, you might not need to put lead generation on your time block, especially if you're new, especially if you're trying to really get focused on just getting some business going. And you're comfortable with just working what the company is or the team is generating for you. But if you're not, maybe you have progressed, you're still taking some company leads, but you're also wanting to start generating some of your own business, you have to be blocking out time for lead generation. That may look like calling past clients. That may be calling people in your business network. We have some agents that have been in some, you know, networking groups locally with other business owners. It may look like going out to your kids' sports games and you're wearing your real estate t-shirt. Maybe it's got a QR code on it. There's so many neat ideas I've seen out there that are related to lead generation. But you're going out there and you're making sure that you're talking to people about real estate. You're asking them if they know anyone who might be looking to buy or sell. You know, I have some prior Buffini training, and there was the mayor campaign where basically you asked, hey, if you knew someone who was looking to buy or sell, do you have an agent that you would refer them to? If they say no, you want to be that agent. So lead generation is you as an agent going out there, having conversations with people about real estate and finding opportunities to add those people to your database. You know, you might have internet leads coming in. That is a form of lead generation, but that's not the only place where lead generation happens. Prospecting is continuing to, once you add people to your database, so maybe you talk to somebody and they're like, yeah, my cousin's looking to buy real estate in Myrtle Beach. That's where we're based out of. And we get the cousin's contact information. All right, now we have to call the cousin. That's prospecting. Maybe we were at an open house. We were holding an open house. We had people register and we got more people into our database. Now we're calling, now we're texting, now we're emailing. We are outbound communicating with those opportunities to try to qualify them and warm them up for conversion. That's something that I think is kind of a transition for a lot of newer agents. Probably a lot of you who are on this call, maybe you have experience, you either currently work on for a team or you have worked for a team in the past, and you didn't maybe have to worry about lead generation because there's always a constant influx of opportunities being given to you by your team leader. Maybe you've progressed and you're transitioning in your business where you want to start generating some of your own opportunities. And that's where it's important to add a time block for lead generation onto your schedule.
For agents who are trying to, maybe you've been in the business a few years, maybe you've had a reasonable amount of closings, but you still need to grow. One thing you need to be doing is being sure that you are staying in contact with those past clients. That's something that's sometimes forgotten. We're so busy trying to get the new piece of business that we forget that new piece of business might be hiding in the past clients that we have. So be sure you're throwing that into your time block somewhere as well, too.
Yeah, absolutely. Whatever CRM you use, we use FUB. Go in, look at your closed clients, use your filters, and see last communication more than 90 days. If you have a database of your closed clients and your last log communication is over 90 days ago, it's time to call them. It's time to communicate with them. And that really is actually now a form of lead generation,
Mhm.
not follow up.
Perfect. Any other last minute questions for Ford and Michelle? You can unmute, ask away, use the chat. But thank you guys so much. This was great. I hope everybody got some knowledge today, took some notes. This was recorded, so this will be uploaded into Circle as well as the Facebook group. So you guys will all get the recording after. Yeah. Thank you guys so much, and we will
Awesome.
see you in 2 weeks on the next one.
Very good. Thank you,
Thank
guys.
you.
Thank you. Bye, guys.